Welcome to another episode of Your City. I'm your host, Diane Parker, and we are at Fire Station 1 in downtown Billings. We are joined by Fire Chief Pepper Valdez. It's so great that you invited us by. We want to thank you so much. And today is all about learning about the new fire chief. You have been in this role since about June, but you are not new to the Billings Fire Department. I think you mentioned 23 years with the Billings Fire Department, and you've lived in Billings for closer to 30 years. So we just want to know all about you. Tell us about your background, where you were living at before you got here, and sort of how things fell into place and where you are now.
Sure. First of all, thank you for coming. So I am actually from Indianapolis. I grew up there, large family, and I like to think that I had an awesome upbringing because I had the best of both worlds. My dad is actually from Montana and grew up on a farm that is about 7 miles north of Yellowtail Dam and sits right on the Bighorn. So while I got the big city amenities, got to go to Colts games, Pacer games, and I lived a 15-minute walk from the Indianapolis 500. I'd go to all the races. During the summer, we'd come out to visit every single year growing up. And so I got to experience that farm life. I got to experience the good fishing, hunting, all the good stuff. So I did have an awesome upbringing. Right about the age of 21 is when I decided I wanted to move to Montana permanently, and have never regretted that decision. What I did a couple odd jobs. Had some family members that one was an RN and the other one was a respiratory therapist. And I said, wow, that's really cool what you guys do. Kind of interested in the whole healthcare thing. So one of my cousins came back and said, try this. Well, it was a school for EMTs. Signed up for it, fell in love with it. And the funny thing is during that class, I met one of my classmates. We got to talking, and he grew up in Illinois. And we found out that we grew up about 3 hours from each other, and here we are in Montana. Going through the class, like I said, loved it. My friend that I met in that class tried so hard to convince me to give the fire department out in Lockwood a shot because they do volunteers. He said, just go check it out, see what it's all about. I think you'd like it. And I said, no, I think you're crazy because sane people run away from burning buildings. And after a while, he just kept hounding on me, and I finally relented. I went out there, did a ride-along, learned how they train, learned their daily routine, and we went on a couple calls, and I absolutely fell in love with it, and that was the end of that. So I said, okay, I need some more experience. So I was able to get on with the local ambulance in town, American Medical Response. So I worked with them as an EMT, was able to go back to school and get my paramedic. So I spent another 2 years in school, got my paramedic, spent about a total of 4 years with American Medical Response. Then I got the call from Billings Fire, and it would have been 98, so I actually started in January of 99. Been with them ever since. Was able to promote through every rank. I've gone from firefighter to engineer to captain to battalion chief to assistant chief and now chief since June.
Okay, that's amazing. That is quite the story. A little bit jealous that you got to grow up by the Indianapolis Speedway and go to all those races. That's pretty cool. So we are here in the fire station, so you're hearing those noises. That's just calls going out because you guys are really busy, and you're probably the most busy because you're the chief. So thanks again for giving us a little bit of your time. It's great to get to know a little bit more about you. What was it when you were, let's see what this call is. Oh, that's okay. You guys are so busy.
So she will dispatch the crew out. The crew will respond.
Yeah.
And then hopefully the conversation dies down for a little bit, so you'll get a response in a bit.
Okay, so this is just how it is, you guys. We're here at Fire Station 1, and it's a busy place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so work is being done every single day, making our city a safer place. So what was it about jumping on for that ride, the ride-along in Lockwood, that made you just like fall in love with fire?
So it was all about the camaraderie that I witnessed amongst that particular crew that day. They really welcomed me in and showed me what it was all about. And what I really fell in love with is it wasn't so much the bravado or any of that stuff. It was about the core value of we are here to help the people. And it's all about the community and what can we do to make it a better place and increase quality of life. Fell in love with that concept. And then riding in the fire truck with lights and sirens isn't a bad thing either. That's a lot of fun too. So all that combined, there was just something about it that just hit me, and I said that was it. So.
Okay, and it's probably you're doing something different every day, right? Because you're going out on different calls. You never know what you're going to see.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right in that. You know what your schedule is. You know the things that need to get done as far as your regular daily checks and so on and so forth. But you have no idea what's coming. You have no idea when it's coming. Right. That's the good part about it. Don't like to see people injured or in pain or in need, but I'm glad that we're able to provide that for them. So.
Right. Very, very a great service that you do. Something to be proud of for sure. And congratulations too on being promoted to fire chief. So what was it like going up through the ranks? Talk to us about maybe some of your favorite positions as you moved up to fire chief.
Oh, great question. So each position is unique. So as the firefighter, obviously you're the lowest on the totem pole, but that's your greatest opportunity to watch and learn. So you watch the driver engineer, and they take you under their wing and mentor and coach and teach and show you all about the equipment. Then you can watch the captain and that role and the responsibilities that the captain would have. But I would say my most favorite position on the job was battalion chief. And that's them responding back.
Okay.
My favorite position was battalion chief because at that point I was assigned to my own shift. So I had my own shift. And that is when I feel that a person can make the most difference with their people. So that's where really it starts at the very first level. But there's something about the battalion chief level to where everyone comes to you. I say that the incident command piece of being a battalion chief is this much. And being that counselor, coach, teacher, and mentor is this much. So there was a sense of fulfillment when people came to you looking for advice, whether it was personal or professional. And that's where I felt I made the largest impact because I had that connection with them. Now, obviously, moving up through the ranks to assistant chief and chief, you go into administration, so you're more on the business end of things. But I still enjoy coming back across the floor or get in my rig and I'll go visit the other fire stations and just sit and have conversations with people and just to keep that connection there because that's what I do miss being in the front office. But.
Yep. Okay, and tell us a little bit about the department, the fire department here in Billings. How many staff members do you have? What is it that you're in charge of?
Being the chief, I oversee all the divisions. I do have a wonderful staff. In fact, I wouldn't have taken the job if I didn't have the staff that we have in place. We have incredible people that actually take care of me. So I oversee prevention, operations, training, our communications, now the new EMS division, which will be separated out. So oversee all the divisions, the daily routine basically is getting started with a morning briefing with the command staff that is on duty. And then we do a morning briefing with the entire shift on through Life-Size Cloud. It's like a Zoom platform. Okay. So we have all 7 stations on our computer screens that we can talk to. So we run through the daily briefing, and then we start breaking out into individual divisions and connecting with those division heads and hey, what's your plan for the day? What do we got going on? What needs to be fixed? Blah, 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 blah. So what the community has here in their fire department is 161 dedicated men and women. What a lot of people don't know is that we oversee the 911 center. And so they belong to us, essentially. We're responsible for dispatching of law enforcement, so sheriff and PD. Everything that happens in the county, we handle. We have 7 fire stations throughout the city, and we are an all hazards department. So despite being called the Billings Fire Department, we do more than just fight fire. We do rescues, we do hazardous materials mitigations. We're in the prevention game, and like I said earlier, we are in EMS game. So, and that's about 60% of what we do is emergency medical services. So when people ask, why does the big red fire truck come to a medical call when I called for an ambulance? Every single one of our people are EMTs, emergency medical techs, and then about a quarter of us are paramedics. And because we are strategically located throughout the city, generally we can get to a call faster and start the assessment process right away. So, because we call it time is muscle. So when the heart is hurting, the quicker we can get there and start taking care of the patient, the faster or better the outcome will be. So, yeah.
All right, very good. So I think that we want to know a little bit about your family life. Do you have family here in Montana? I know you mentioned you had some to begin with.
Absolutely. So what a lot of people they can't believe is how many cousins I have. I come from a very large family. So on my mom's side, back in Indiana, she came from a family of 15. And so I have 76 first cousins back in Indiana. And then on my dad's side, he came from a family of 9, and I have about 37 cousins on this side of the family. The Montana side is what I call it. Okay. So I have a lot of first cousins, a lot of second cousins. We're all over the place. And then, fortunately for me, I met my wife in was 2001, and we got married in 2002. We've been together ever since. She takes care of me. She's the boss. And then we have 2 boys, both of them West High students, one a senior, one a sophomore. And I have the best of both worlds there, too, because I have one that is really interested in golf, so I get to go golf with that one, and the other one is in fishing, so I get to go fish with that one. So, yeah, I got it pretty good. But I am sad. My senior's gonna be leaving the home here soon, so.
Right. Well, that is really fun. So go Bears, right?
Absolutely. Yes, go Bears, especially this weekend.
Okay. Well, and talking about like being a fan of the Bears or different sports teams and things like that, I think the viewers probably would like to know, do you have any favorite fire shows that you watch on TV? I mean, Paw Patrol maybe?
Yeah, I don't know about the Paw Patrol, but definitely I don't know for some of our seasoned viewers, Emergency. Johnny and Roy, absolutely. And what's interesting about that show is it's almost 50 years old. And a lot of what they did back then still applies to today. So that Los Angeles County Fire Department was, even though it was a TV show, that show was based on what the real fire department actually did. Paramedics were a brand new thing. That was groundbreaking stuff. The rescue techniques that they did, and running squads, which is basically our MRTs, which we're doing today. So they were doing all that back then. So that's one of my favorite shows. And of course, my wife and I, we watch Chicago Fire. She likes the drama part of it. Of course, I'm watching what's going on with the calls. And of course, I have to shake my head a lot of times because a lot of that's not real, but it is still a cool show. So that would be 2 of my favorite shows, fire shows.
Okay. So not necessarily so realistic, but still some good stuff in the dramas, right?
Yeah, still fun to watch, yeah.
All right. Very cool. Well, my kids, they watch a lot of Paw Patrol because they're only 3 and 7. Well, really the 3-year-old loves it, but you're far away from that, cheering on the Bears with your golfing and all the activities that you get to do. So that's really cool. Okay. We're going to wait for this call for 1 second. Okay. So one other burning question that I have is, have you ever rescued a cat from a tree?
I haven't rescued a cat from a tree, but I can tell you 2 stories about the friend of mine that talked me into the fire department. So what's interesting about that is he and I got hired on the Billings Fire Department at the same time. And to this day, he is the chief of training now. So where I was going with that story was I was gone for a weekend trip. I came home and I read in the newspaper that we had a fire and that the firefighter that rescued the cat out of the house, the cat bit him.
Oh, wow.
And this individual was busy shaking the cat, trying to shake the cat off his hand because the cat was almost unconscious because of the smoke. But as soon as it hit the fresh air, it woke up. And when it woke up, it was startled, and that's when it bit him.
Oh, wow.
So I called my friend and I go, okay, and take this for what you want. I said, all right, who was the dum-dum that let the cat bite him? And he goes, that was me. So,
Oh, man.
yeah, I never let him live it down. But yeah, no cats out of the trees, but for sure, quite a few out of homes and dogs too. Yeah.
Okay, what about maybe a memorable rescue that you've had over the years?
Actually, it's a great question. So one of my most memorable rescues is back in 2016. I was a brand new battalion chief, and we had an individual that had a canoe that turned over in the river. It was a very difficult rescue. It was the night, or the sun was falling. It was getting very difficult to see, and the river was raging at the time. So it was very difficult and dangerous for us to try to traverse that to get to this individual. Now, luckily, she was able to hang on to basically a log that was caught up on a barge, on a sand barge. So as long as she could hold on, we felt comfortable that we'd eventually get to her, but we didn't know how we were going to get to her. So we were out of ideas. I had a firefighter come to me and say, you know what, I've got a friend that's a pilot for the National Guard. I think they're training in Broadus. And I said, can you call your friend? And he goes, yeah, let me try it. We get a hold of them while they're training in Broadus, and he gives me the contact to a major for the National Guard that's stationed here in Billings. That major gives me the number to, at the time, Colonel Wilkins, who was based in Helena. I get a hold of Colonel Wilkins, and I said, look, we're out of options. We have no other way to get to this person. The temperature's dropping fast. I mean, it was a cold night, and it is pitch black out here. Can you help us? And he goes, is she in a life-threatening situation? I said, hypothermia. He goes, that's all you had to say. About 15 minutes later, here comes that chopper right through the valley, and it was the coolest thing I ever saw. They dropped down because they had the night vision. They dropped down, picked her up, sent her up to the hospital. We had an ambulance meet the helicopter up at the hospital. What's cool about that is that colonel, who's now the general, based out of Helena, we developed a friendship. They had already been looking at putting a National Guard outfit here in Billings. So we got to talking, and here we are about 5 years later, and now we're looking at having a National Guard right here on the hill. And I think the impetus from that was that call that night to help put that over the top. So that's one of my most memorable.
Okay, very memorable. That is so cool how that story turned out. I mean, you are really responsible for saving so many lives here. We want to thank you for everything that you do for the city of Billings. And is there anything else that you'd like to add before we say goodbye?
Absolutely. So what I like to tell everybody is, yes, there is a difference between a fire engine and a fire truck.
Okay.
The difference is the fire engine puts the fire out. That's their responsibility. They have water on it, right? The fire truck is the one that has the big ladder. They're responsible for the rescues. So those are the glory hounds there. So there's the difference between a fire engine and fire truck.
Okay, I didn't know that. So thank you. I am ready, yeah, or at least to watch Paw Patrol with my 3-year-old, right?
There you go.
All right, well, Pepper Valdez, we want to thank you so much. It's been great to get to know you.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, well, we'll see you next time on Your City.